Good afternoon and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Kurt, and this video is going to be in English mostly. Este video mayormente va a estar en inglés, aunque vamos a intentar hacerlo medio bilingüe. We're going to try to do this somewhat bilingually, but mostly in English to get people up to date on what's going on today in Mexico. And what's going on today is that voters are going to the polls to elect governors in 6 states out of the 32 here in Mexico. This is going to be a good day for Morena, the governing party, the center-left governing party of Andrés Manuel López Obrador, for the simple reason that it's not governing in any of the states that are up for election today. The opposition is governing in all those states today. So any state that Morena wins today is going to add more to its column, and it's actually looking to have a pretty good day. So let's go to the map and see who's electing governors today and what's going on there. You can see there are elections today in Durango, Tamaulipas, Aguascalientes, Hidalgo, Oaxaca, and Quintana Roo over in the Yucatan Peninsula. All of these 6 states are electing governors. And in addition to that, Quintana Roo is also electing a state Congress, 25 Congress members there in the state level Congress. And Durango is also electing 39 mayorships, ayuntamientos. At the moment, all of these states are governed by the opposition. Right? Durango is governed by the PAN, the conservative right-wing party, the PAN, as well as in Tamaulipas, whose governor, Garcia Cabeza de Vaca, has got large and very troubling corruption charges pending against him. So he's been trying to do everything he can to ensure that the PAN doesn't lose in Tamaulipas. It looks like that's going to happen anyway. And the question is, once he loses his diplomatic immunity, whether he's going to face his charges or try to flee the country. Aguascalientes, also governed by the PAN. This is actually a bastion of panismo, a long-standing bastion of panismo. Hidalgo, governed by the PRI, the PRI, as is Oaxaca at the moment. Oaxaca has had one transition away from the PRI. But Hidalgo has never had a transition away from the PRI. The PRI has always governed in Hidalgo, except for, very likely today, the PRI stands to lose Hidalgo and also stands to lose Oaxaca by a large margin. Quintana Roo, governed by the PRD, I think it's if I'm not mistaken, it's the one state the PRD is governing, and it's going to lose that as well if things stand according to the polls. So let's go and look at some polls and see where things are standing. In general, kind of the way to look at today's races are 6 races are up for grabs, right? If Morena wins 4, that's a good day for them, right? And they stand to win fairly easily in 4 states, which is Oaxaca, Hidalgo, Quintana Roo, and Tamaulipas. If it wins 5 states, it's having a very good day. And if it wins all 6 states, it's having an excellent day. But the baseline is 4. Morena stands to win 4 of the 6 states. So let's look at some of the polls and let's see where things stood before election day started. Let's go back here to share the screen. And let's go over here to some of the last polls. Now, there are a lot of polls that were, from companies that are more or less trustworthy. So this is just kind of a very general picture. Aguascalientes is definitely the closest race, and it's the one to watch. Nora Rubalcaba from Morena has run a very spirited campaign against Tere Jimenez from Aguascalientes, hitting Jimenez hard, for example, on a big solar project that they were supposed to roll out in the capital that never happened, just kind of sitting there out in the desert, and has really come from behind. At the beginning of this race, Nora Rubalcaba was down about 30 points, I think. She's closed the gap to basically a technical tie. This is one poll, but there are others that have her in a technical tie or even ahead. And the big factor here is that Morena in this state did not go in coalition with the Workers' Party and the Green Party. They were running separately, but Marta Marquez from the Workers' Party and Green Party dropped out of the race a few days ago and endorsed Nora Rubalcaba. So at least a substantial portion of the Marquez votes should be coming up here to Nora Rubalcaba. So it should be a very close and a very interesting race and a historical bastion of panismo. If the PAN loses here, it would be a real psychological blow for them. And as I said, this is really the one to watch, Aguascalientes. Let's scroll down a little bit here. The other close race is Durango, where the Morena candidate Alma Marina Vitela has, according to the polls you look at, anywhere from about 3 to 5 point lead over the coalition. Remember, PAN, in most states, the opposition parties have ganged up on Morena. So you got the PAN, the PRI, and the PRD running together. Movimiento Ciudadano, the other opposition party, as in Aguascalientes, is running separately. So Durango is another one of the close ones, but Morena has been steadily ahead in the state, but by a fairly small margin. Now let's go to some of the states which are not anywhere near as close. Hidalgo looks like it's going to be one of the big blowout states. This is where Julio Menchaca has about a 30-point lead over Carolina Villano from the coalition, to the point that Villano's own brother-in-law, Humberto Moreira, has said basically she's got no chance and Menchaca's going to run away with it. Excuse me. Carolina Villano is married to Ruben Moreira, who is a congressperson from the PRI, who made kind of an infamous speech during the debate on the electricity reform a month or so ago, when he stood up at the podium and said, "Oh yeah, we just realized that there's a lot of fraud in the electricity sector. That private companies doing a lot of fraud with using energy production and feeding it to private clients. Oh, we just realized there's a lot of fraud going on, but we're going to vote against it anyway." So that's Villano, her husband Ruben Moreira, and Humberto, who's basically said, "She's my sister-in-law, but she's got no shot." Let's keep scrolling down here to Oaxaca, where Salomon Jara, senator from Morena, has a healthy lead against Alejandro Aviles from the PRD and the PRI. The PAN is running separately here, as is Movimiento Ciudadano. But this is another one of these states where it's really not much in contest. I live in Oaxaca, and basically it's been a very low-key campaign on all sides, for the simple reason that basically everybody knows that Jara is going to win here. So it would be an earthquake-type shock if Jara were to lose in one of Morena's most important bastions. This is where this is about where Morena does about as well as anywhere in the country, is in Oaxaca. Let's keep going down to Quintana Roo, where Mara Lezama has, again, a 30-point lead over the coalition candidate there, Laura Fernandez. The PRI is running separately there, but even if the PRI were running together, even if Movimiento Ciudadano was running together, even all of them together don't catch up to Morena in Quintana Roo. So that's another one of the safe states. And then ending up with Tamaulipas, where Morena again has about a 25-point lead there. As I said, Garcia Cabeza de Vaca, the governor there, on pending corruption charges against him. They've even been jailing local candidates, kind of breaking out some heavy-handed authoritarian tactics in Tamaulipas. Some very troubling stuff has been going on in Tamaulipas over the last few weeks before the election. From what I've seen so far today, the election appears to be being carried out pretty much in a relative degree of peace there. As in the other states, there have been some reports of intimidating of electoral observers in Aguascalientes, some troubling robocalling in Durango, some burning of polling boxes in Oaxaca, in the coast, where people are upset that the government has not, the state government of Alejandro Murat has not provided hurricane relief. A hurricane just passed through there just a few days ago. So that's been a protest that's been going on there. So that's the lay of the lands again. So again, just to repeat, of the six states that are up today, Morena alone or in coalition is going to very handily win Oaxaca, Quintana Roo, Tamaulipas, and Hidalgo. And the close ones to watch are Durango and Aguascalientes. If Morena wins those as well, it's going to be a very good night. I mean, an excellent night. This is the most advantageous electoral map Morena is going to have, because Morena didn't have governorships before 2018, which it won in conjunction with the election of López Obrador. So it's not defending any governorships today. In 2024, it's going to have to start defending governorships. But right now it's not, because all of its governorships are fairly new ones. So it's on the offense today in a way that it's not going to be again. Well, in 2023, 2 more states are up, Mexico State and Coahuila. So it'll be on the offense again next year. But starting with 2024, it's going to have to start defending governorships that it already has. So this is the most advantageous electoral map Morena is going to see with regards to governorships. So what's been going on in the campaign? It's been an interesting campaign in the sense that every state has its local issues, but in a large sense, national issues have predominated. And one of the largest issues is the electricity reform, the constitutional reform, which Morena tried and failed to pass a month or so ago, and then the next day passed a separate law to nationalize the nation's lithium stores. So Morena, its coalition, has made a very concerted effort throughout this campaign to tar the opposition, the PAN, the PRD, PRI, and Movimiento Ciudadano, to tar them as traitors for voting against the electricity reform, which would have brought Mexico's electricity network under greater public control, the control of the Federal Electricity Commission. It would also have clamped down on fraud and abuse in what's called self-supply, autobasto, where companies have set up a parallel electricity network to create energy and sell it off to big clients. So the big issue has been that, this attempt to tar the opposition as traitors for voting against what Morena considers the interest of the nation, and I agree, and tarring the opposition as instead voting in favor of Iberdrola and the large Spanish and American energy interests. The U.S. ambassador Ken Salazar was all over the place trying to stop the electricity reform, going to National Palace every day to try to get that stopped. And Morena did lose the battle on that one, but it may very well win the war, in the sense of the constitutional electricity reform didn't pass, but it became a real campaign club where Morena was hammering the opposition for voting against the interest of the nation in their terms, and voting in favor of foreign multinationals to continue to gouge or to attempt to gouge the public, as is happening right now in Spain, in Portugal, France, Great Britain, and the like. So that became a huge campaign issue. Another late-breaking campaign issue over the last couple of weeks were the Alito videos, where the head of the president of the PRI party, Alejandro Moreno, Alito, former governor of Campeche, there was a series of leaked videos showing him to be just about as corrupt as people thought he was, trying to extort money for campaigns, perpetrating property fraud, buying beachfront property for pennies on the hectare and then turning around and flipping them threatening journalists with very vulgar terms, saying that journalists, you don't kill journalists with bullets, you kill them with hunger, basically by cutting off their sources of financing and letting them, die metaphorically by starvation, and in some cases not so metaphorically. So the governor of Campeche, Laida Sansores, has been dropping these videos once a week throughout the campaign on her Tuesday program. So it's gotten to the point where people are like, oh, what's the next Alito video going to be? Somewhat similar to kind of the WikiLeaks dumps during the 2016 campaign. So in a large sense, not negating local issues by any sense, a lot of the issues in this campaign have been national. The electricity reform, corruption in the PRI. There's been an attempt of the last week by the opposition to TAR, Morena, saying it's a narco government, narco gobierno, kind of a late attempt to try to flip things back. We'll see if that has any effect. I don't think it will very much. That remains to be seen. So at the end of the day, I'm going to end with this for the moment. At the end of the day, this is where, look, this map over here, where things more or less could stand. I mean, look how much Morena stands to be governing, how many states Morena stands to be governing after today. If it picks up as expected Oaxaca, if it picks up as expected Hidalgo, if it picks up as expected Quintana Roo, and if it picks up as expected Tamaulipas. And again, the wild cards still are Durango and Aguascalientes, and those are the close ones to watch, and that's exactly what we'll be doing. We'll be watching them, we'll be reporting on them, and we'll come back a little bit later to see where we're at. Ese video fue mayormente en inglés, porque creo que los que hablan español ya están muy al pendiente de lo que está pasando en cuanto a esos datos que dije. Muy brevemente, 6 estados hoy, ¿no? Morena va a ganar en 4 de los 6 y en 2 más hay una contienda muy cerrada, y esto vamos a ver. Son todos estados gobernados por la oposición, el PRI en Hidalgo, el PRI en Hidalgo y bueno, el PAN en Durango, Tamaulipas, el PRI en Hidalgo y Oaxaca, PRD en Quintana Roo. Eso, ya, ok. Entonces, nos vemos al rato. Eso fue nada más para poner el escenario, poner la escena. And we'll be back a little bit later when we start having some results. Polls are going to close at 6 o'clock here, so about an hour and a half. 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, and we'll start having some results. State by state, it depends, and there's always questions about state electoral institutes, maybe around 9 or so. The states have their quick count, their prep, which kind of gives us a sense of where we're going. But again, the late ones, the close ones, the late ones are going to be Durango and Aguascalientes. So we'll be back a little bit later, and we'll talk to you soon.